It's a new week. We're going to have a productive week as well, ladies and gentlemen. We've had enough excuses. We've not been productive properly. Well, to be fair, we were a little bit productive at the beginning of last week. It tailed off in a not good way. And now we are being productive AF. I've spent an entire day today testing. I'm bored. Spent all day working on just boring old test stuff, buying things. Does it do what it's supposed to do? Whatever. Boring, boring, boring. Annoyingly, the testing is important, so I can't like dawdle with it or spend half of my time doing work I'd like to do that's fun, and half the time work I wouldn't like to do, which isn't fun. But that's life. That's what all the people say. That's life. But I'm back now, and it's time to sit down and do some work. It's 10 minutes to 5, so we are on it time-wise. It's time to stop dawdling and talking. We're gonna go shopping tonight, though, which is always a fun one. Right, where we work. So, what's my next plan? I've got to build up an API to release templates, pipeline templates. That's my next task. Should I do this on my laptop or on Atlas? That's question number 2. Feel laptop, because then I can get it, take it to work. What's the chances of me doing work at work? Slim. Even if I do some work at work tomorrow on my laptop and I don't have this, there's other things I can do at the same time. So that ain't no problem. I can just spend time doing something that's a little bit more iterative on the old microservice instead of new on this one. I've got a lot of like projects to set up. I've got to set up the API properly. I've got to set up the automation tests properly. That just involves a lot of copy paste, which involves having 2 separate things. So I'm like, oh, how did I do that for that one? Oh, that's cool. I'm going to do that for this one as well. Happy birthday. More screens. Work. It's going to work. We've been shopping. Laura's gone to bed. Laura went to bed a long time ago. I've been up chipping through some work. What I'm trying to do is something I've not done before. Microservices, unit tests, make up that microservice. What I'm trying to do is build some kind of automation test, what I'm deeming an acceptance test, which spins up a version of that microservice and then tests the code all the way through. I'm building up the real way of communicating it. So I'm loading it into a test web server, or I'm booting up an in-memory version of mass transit. I put something on the bus, or I talk to the in-memory web server. It then calls all of the code all the way through up until the dependency that I can't control, which is in Mongo. If I was using SQL, if I was using Entity Framework, I'd use an in-memory version of the Entity Framework, blah, blah, etc. I sampled this a while ago at work. I built one for the microservice we were running. That was the first time I'd done it. I've just added it to the newest microservice I've got here. In theory, I can retrofit it to my other microservices, but it doesn't make sense at this point. I'll do it later. So previously, I've figured out how to do it for a Service Fabric based consumer microservice. So something that listens to the message bus, something I hadn't done before. Now I'm trying to spin it up for a web server. Now it's slightly different because of the way DI is being injected in. So I fudged the DI at work, got the DI working much better here, but it's like slightly different. I figured out how to do it. The one problem I'm now trying to figure out is my microservice expects to be called from the requests to have a token on it that was issued by an identity server, which is a separate microservice, not loaded, not in memory, not in scope for testing. But I want to be able to talk to my microservice, and I want to be able to fake being authenticated. So I've got ways of controlling and injecting the flow of the code. I'm trying to use as much of the real code as possible, but where I'm forced to, I'm injecting in things that I can't use, like Mongo. So in theory, I can just turn security off. That's possible. But if I could, I want to be able to basically tell it to just listen to me, just trust me, as I pass it different types of tokens. But I want that token to be as close as possible. So that's what I'm investigating now. It's going to be fun. It's going to be an interesting couple of days. I'll try and figure out what the heck of a doodle do. It won't work, but I'm trying to figure it out. It looks like it would be simpler if I was just using straight up JWT tokens. I'm using identity server though, so it adds a tiny little bit. I mean, identity server is in theory just a layer on top of JWT, but I've got to like reverse engineer it, figure it out. It doesn't look like anyone else has done this before. People have done it with JWT. I mean, the people doing this is pretty niche, let alone people doing this with Identity Server. I'll figure it out. That's what I do. I do this for a living, boy. And like I say, worst case scenario, turn off security. Problem is, because of how security is like integrated in with things like Swagger and claims transformation and all this kind of stuff, I would have to quite aggressively. It would be very aggressive, ripping that out. But it's possible. Anyway, I need to go to bed. Guys, I'm not even fucking with you. It's horrendously hot. It's so unbelievably hot. It's not fair. We had a really trash day as well today as we were trying to figure out how to integrate with this third-party system that just didn't work the way that it said that it would. Basically, there's a bug in this system that we're trying to integrate with. They've said they won't fix it until... They'll have it fixed definitely by the end of Q3, which is no good to us. So we like tried to implement some workarounds for their issue, and everything that we could do was too... what's the word I'm looking for? We didn't have the right tool for it, but we didn't have the right tool, the right data. Everything was just too blunt, and we just end up hitting things we didn't want to hit with all of our workarounds. So we had something like 3 or 4 different workarounds that then broke other things, and we ended up having to go with the, well, we're just going to have to deal with the fact that this company has an error in it, which affects our journey, customer journey, and our UX, but maybe we can now pressure them into fixing it quicker if we haven't got a suitable workaround. Because of that, it was very stop, start, shitload of testing. But the worst kind of testing, because you start testing it, and then we decide that we change what we want entirely. So you test it all again, and it kind of felt like at the end you just kind of lose the will to live, because effectively you're not testing it, we're just changing the test to fit whatever the fuck it does. So it's kind of like, feels like a bit like a non-entity. Today, however, so hot, I wore my shorts today to work, and I currently am wearing my pajama bottoms, which I have toothpaste on, in a place where it doesn't look like toothpaste. Otherwise, in my downtime, I've been trying to figure out how to solve the problem I'm trying to solve. I got it up and running with 2 different test web servers, but I can't get them to talk to each other. It's a bit odd, because I effectively need to pass the details of one into the other. I'm going to try and have a fuck about with putting Identity Server and the security the server itself on the same server. That's what I'm going to try with now on my laptop. And otherwise I've got the windows open. It's cookingly hot, ladies and gentlemen, and I'm watching Hat Films do a live stream. What's that ticking noise? Well, I've just been bashing my head against this thing for ages. I'm not going to lie, most of the evening was spent watching Strange Things. We've got 1 episode left to go. But god damn, it looks like I actually peeled back the problem, and it turns out that I'm not even starting the API properly, which is bizarre because it looks like it's booting up, but I'm getting 404s, and I thought I was getting a 404 because it was trying to route me to the in-memory identity server, but I've removed all of that shit and I still get 404s. I'm going a little bit back to the drawing board. I've got 2 ways of booting up test servers. I'm like, what's odd is it's running the code, it's initializing it, but I don't think it's constantly running the server. So when you bump it at it, or I think the server's running, but it's not actually running my MVC, because I can't get to my MVC, but it starts it up. It's interesting. It's really fucking irritating, but it's interesting. Otherwise, I've been, well, I mean, we watched Stranger Things. I said to Laura, like, I work in the living room because it's cooler in there. And then if you want to watch something, watch something. And then was like watching fucking Stranger Things. I can't work while watching Stranger Things. Come on, boys. And then Laura went to work, bed. And I was like, right, now I'll go on my laptop. I went on my laptop for a little bit, and I'm like, okay, I'm getting sick of this. I need to go and look at some other stuff. I need to go look at like my this side by side with this other thing where I've got it working elsewhere. With the mass transit thing, it's really hard to do it on a laptop because I've got to keep context switching between the 2, and it's slightly different. It's really fucking irritating. So I need 2 monitors. I'm going to watch this video, watch the end of this YouTube video, and I'll go upstairs and carry on. And that was an hour ago. So I just can't bear the thought of sitting in my office and just sweltering away. Well, it's time to go. Also, when I get hot, my arms hurt because it feels like my veins bulge. Is that normal? Just occurred to me, the difference is DI. Because I'm using a different type of DI for this than I was the other one. Mass transit is mildly different because of the way that it's initialized and the way that it consumes stuff. It's effectively like within a thing that I'm passing around, effectively. But that's not what's happening with the web host. I reckon the garbage collector is turning the web host off after it's been started up. I reckon that's what's happening. I need to go to bed then. We had some crazy ass thunder and lightning last night. It didn't drive the temperature down too much, although it's quite cool now. It's going to be hot later. But I went to bed, and like 10 minutes later, it literally sounded like a building was falling down. It was so fucking loud. It woke Laura up, who was like basically having a heart attack because she'd just woken up in a dream because of the lightning. And then just like lightning after lightning after lightning, like the room was just, it was like you turn the light on basically. It was insane. But it happened for like 5 minutes and then went away. And then I went to sleep. Had a lovely night's sleep, so there's that. I'm hoping to be able to just smash through the last of the testing today, which should give me some headroom to figure out this test server stuff. But you never know. Probably said that on Friday. So, well, or words to that effect. Another day, another dollar. Boys, we actually chipped quite through a lot of all the testing. I think we got through the vast majority of it, but we spotted a bug that we hadn't thought about. So it's kind of like we never programmed for it. So it's like it's a bug because we missed it in the requirements effectively. But we'll get there. We're basically done now. So good times. I'm glad about that. I'm sick to death of testing. I'm not going to lie to you, but I've got another couple of weeks of it, unfortunately. The good news is that I no longer have a single day 4 times. I've only got 3 more days. 3 more Thursdays, 3 more Fridays, 3 more Mondays, 3 more Tuesdays, 3 more Wednesdays after this one, because this one's finished. That's good. God damn, that's good. Seriously, it feels like a decade ago that I had my notice in. Christ. I mean, my notice period was the exact same length as my probation period, and my probation period whizzed by. FML. Right, so I've been having problems with my implementation of my test server that I'm trying to host to do my automation tests. I've been building it up on my laptop, and I've started to realise that I think that it'll be words. Things. I have a feeling that basically garbage collection is killing the server while it's running, or it's being reinitialized a number of times. I'm not really sure, but for whatever reason, no matter what I hit this test server with, I get 404s, which kind of implies that my MVC isn't running on it. Like the test server's running, but the MVC is off. And I cannot, for the life of me, figure out why that is. So, because I've been working on my laptop, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to create a fork on the branch on Atlas, and by hook or by crook today, with the exception of watching the finale of Stranger Things Season 3, I'm going to be working on this. I'm going to get it working before I go to sleep tonight. That's my aim. I've already wasted too much time on it. And like, yes, it's you can't put price on the value it'll give me, but it feels like I've wasted, because the problem is I'm doing it as part of a ticket that shouldn't take very long. But I need it for all future tickets. And if Laura's gonna be like, what do you want to do tonight? I'm like, you said you were going to research IP for me. Get on it. Watch. Looks like a change in ASP.NET Core. The way that it registers MVC controllers to the web host is it defaults to the assembly that the web host is initialized in. Which for me is somewhere where there aren't actually any controllers. So therefore there aren't any controllers, and I've got to point it at the right assembly. So, nice. Well, there we go, fixed that, boys. Now all I need to do is worry about the authentication. I'm going to tidy this up, so I fix everything that I've broke in order to get here. And then we need to start putting the authentication in. So at the moment I turned off everything. I've turned off all the authentication, you name it, all of it. I'm getting success. I'm now going to tidy it up, turn authentication back on, work from there. When I say by hook or by crook I'd get there, I'm caving, but only because I know I'm too far away to do it. So, in short, I figured out a way of, I can now talk to the microservice, which is great. Happy birthday. I set up a way of getting my authentication token with a NuGet package someone else threw together. I've been trying to set that up and I can't get the tokens properly, I can't configure it right. And also the way that you configure it isn't going to be very compatible with what I'm doing. Otherwise, I'm following something someone else did that they did 3 years ago. So I can't just fucking lift it and shift it because the APIs have all changed. But it will give me the ability to start manipulating the, it's a little bit, well I say it's a little bit, it's a lot more custom. But it will give me the power that I need to be able to do the tests that I want to do in the future, which is inject different users with different permissions and see if they can do certain things and see if they can not. So I'm at the point where I've figured out basically how it's got to hang together. And what I was effectively trying to do was trying to modify the client without having access to the client. What I'm actually going to have to do is going to wrap the client, which is an auto-generated client, which I need it to be auto-generated because I generated from a Swagger file, which I'm dog fooding out to the API gateway, so I want to make sure that that's valid. It's really fucking complicated, to be honest with you. But I need to effectively wrap that, because that is effectively a service. I need to call it an iSecured service, and then you talk to it and pass it your credentials that you want to use to log in. At that point, it then has access to all of the information that it needs from the security service. It has access to the faked security service. It has access to the faked, the real API, which then talks to the fake security service with the details that I already know, so you can get your client authenticated, and then this can get the user authenticated, and then it can talk to the other thing in theory without the front end knowing anything weird happened. God damn. But yeah, I'm at the point where I can basically see that coming together, and then on top of that I then need to configure it so the identity service, the fake identity service, is as close to my real identity service as possible. And then I think I can NuGet package this up. To a certain extent. There's a lot of it I can't NuGet package up just because it's literally an extension of my very own microservice, and I can't genericize that. But I can NuGet package this up to a certain extent, and then at the very least replicate it around all of my microservices. At worst, at best, even replicate it out externally. But fuck me, is it complicated? Tomorrow's the day. We can sort it tomorrow. We finished testing now, so I think I can run it basically all day, and then focus on it over the weekend as well. So tomorrow day and Friday day, and then I've got all weekend to run it as well. It's going to be worth it. I was trying to figure out how worth it was, because in theory I could just turn authentication off, but it would be really powerful if I could. Well, I couldn't actually, because when the user calls, the user passes a party ID, and I can't set the party ID from an automation test. So I need it if I want to wrap automatic. Shut the fuck up. And actually, because I need that party ID, that's reason enough why I have to hand crank my own. Fuck me. Why? Oh man, it's fun. Watch Stranger Things, brilliant. Laura cried like a baby. It was really good. I enjoyed it as well. I need to get to bed. We're due for today to be the hottest day ever recorded in the UK, which is great, considering that last night wasn't the hottest day ever, and I was in my office sweltering. But we're in a nice air-conditioned office today during the day when it's at its worst. It's actually not. It's worst between like 5 and 6 o'clock at night, but that's not the point. I'm in the mood today. I'm in a get shit done kind of mood. I've come into work, I'm listening to my rap music. I'm ready to hustle. You know what I'm saying? So let's hustle.
Tell you what, man, I'm not looking forward to this drive home. That car is going to be like a little oven, and our air conditioning unit needs fixing. I think it needs some more gas in it, or some shit, whatever you do to air conditioning units to make them work when they don't work. It's like, it feels like actually, it's not that much colder than it was when we was on holiday. I think it's 34 degrees at the moment, which is close to what it was in Greece. Not quite, it's not quite as aggressive as that, to be fair, but fuck me, man, you could literally cook an egg in this goddamn car. I couldn't find a tree to park it under today.
Got a tiny little spurt of rain there, and it stopped. It was a horrendous drive home. I was absolutely roasting. Otherwise though, we are sit rep, ladies and gentlemen. We finished testing all the major parts. We had some, we got audited a bit. Well, no, it wasn't an audit, but something similar to that. And third-party company had a look at it all. There's some minor fixes they need to do. There has to be a thing like what is it about? You can test something as much as you want. You hand it over to someone else and they find a problem with it. So there's like this thing that needs to appear on a page, and it wasn't appearing on some of the product pages that they looked at. I investigated it, figured out why that was happening, and fixed the problem. Figured out that it would have appeared on roughly 50 products out of the 5,000 live products that we have on the site. 5,000, only 50 had it, and they just happened to pick one of them. What the fucking chances of that, man? It happens all the time as well. It happened in my previous place where we just deliver it. We're like, right, okay, I mean, to be fair, that was ropey as fuck. But we delivered it like, we think that's pretty stable. Then they do something that we do all the time and it breaks because of just this slight difference. But yeah, just like there's like an increased odds of just someone external finding one fucking product out of all of them that it doesn't work for. And we're not going to try it with every product. But yeah, it was a weird rounding issue, effectively, is what it boiled down to. But it happened because of some products in the database had really bad rounding on the price, and that was fucking up this thing. But yeah, man, god damn it. Otherwise, I've tidied everything up in my code base, and I'm integrating in with I've spun up an in-memory test identity server next to my in-memory test server, and I'm trying to authenticate with it, and I'm getting client invalid. And now I'm in the world that I fucking despise, which is trying to get things to talk to each other when the thing that you're trying to talk to refuses to give you any kind of data. All the security stuff is obviously really like, what's the word? It's like really locked down. It tries to bleed as little information as possible, which is great for security reasons. But it's shit when you can't get it working because it just doesn't fucking tell you why. But yeah, so it's saying invalid client, and like everything looks like it should match. But the problem now is effectively that my clients are slightly different to the one singular person on the internet that seems to be doing something similar to me. They're just doing like a demo thing. Mine's a full-blown bullshit thing, you know? And I can't figure out what the difference is. And that's where I'm at right now. Laura's nearly home as well. So we're gonna have to take a break. Maybe I'll have a little epiphany, but I've like mapped it all out. Because I had a lot of struggles getting it. I was having a similar like not found issue, and I thought that was somewhat to do with fucking, what's it called? Actually, as well, I've just had an idea. I've literally just sat down and had an idea. Let's do that again. But yeah, otherwise it's been a pretty chilled out day. The morning was all spent testing, and then the second half of the day was spent fighting, trying to get this to test properly. But it's so fucking complicated. And it's a bit messy at the moment because I'm trying to do it relatively quickly. And then I've got to tidy it up once I've got it working and pray I don't break it again. No dice, mate, no dice. We ain't there yet. I'm gonna stop chopping some dinner. We've got nachos. And Laura's Ubering, so she was running very late today. Nacho. You know what, guys? It's absolutely ludicrously hot. going to call it as well, ladies and gentlemen. Let's end this vlog here. We've got a long weekend ahead of us. I need to fucking fix this client issue. But otherwise took the evening off. So got a lot of work to do, man. It's annoying because I kind of feel like I'm wasting my time, but I'm not. I do feel like with exactly 3 full weeks to go, I should probably be doing something else. But fucking trial and error in this son of a bitch. I guess the problem is I shouldn't be trial and error in it. I should just know it. So I should just read up on it and study it and figure out why that works. Like I say, the problem is I'm copying something that's not quite what I've got, and it's 3 years out of date. And 3 years out of date in .NET Core times is a long fucking time. It's still got a project.json file, not a CS proj file. That's how old it is. God damn. All my .NET Core brethren? Know what I'm talking about. Catch you later.